After almost over 5 years of doing YouTube and doing boss rankings, this one might just be the weirdest. Wario makes another grand return with another micro game collection called Wario Ware Move It, and there actually are boss battles in this game once again like we've had in the past. And there are 11 boss battles in total, so I said, you know, screw it, we're gonna rank them. So out of the 11 bosses in this game, I'll be ranking each one to see how fun and unique they are, and they're all extremely unique, I can tell you right now. But yeah, if you enjoy this crazy, wacky Wario ranking, then make sure you leave a like and subscribe. Only 16.9% of you, as of right now, are subscribed to the channel. So yeah, if you're enjoying this video and want to see more like it, just leave a like and subscribe. It helps out a lot. Let's see how many people we can get to sub from this one video. But let's jump into the ranking of Wario Ware Move It's bosses ranked. Coming in at number 11 and starting the list, we have Uniform Distribution. As much of the wacky games that we actually have in this game, this one was a little lackluster. There wasn't a whole lot going on besides you just giving football players their uniforms, and that's about it. Yes, you would give them their shoulder pads or their pants, where they would actually come in the room in just their underwear. So yeah, it's just your job to dress them and then the game's over. That's literally the boss battle. The later stages might change it up to you giving them socks and shoes instead, and also you having to give them both a uniform and socks and shoes, and sometimes a dog will pop up and try to throw you off by either taking off an article of their clothing or giving them something before they come into the room, which really doesn't change anything up that much. Like, if it did anything else, I kind of would have wished it would have gave you like more boxes to give them more different types of uniforms, but I mean, this one's a very difficult one to lose, I feel. There's not really that much challenge at all, and it's just kind of average in comparison to the rest of the boss battles. Number 10, we have Gridle Bot, which is kind of in the same category. It's very slow, and it's just a lot more dragged on than the previous one. It's your job to flip this meat on this conveyor belt in order to get it to look absolutely perfect, and you'll see the bar fill up, and once the bar fill up, you flip it over, and then once that bar fills up and is cooked on both the top and the bottom, you then can pull the meat off the grill. It's a cool concept, but the problem with it is that there's just really no challenge at all. It's extremely simple. All you have to do is pay somewhat attention to what's going on, and it even gives you some leeway if you let it cook just a little longer than it should. It's really hard to fail this one, and I couldn't even fail it even if I really tried from the times I played. But they'll give you different sizes of meat, which will cook at different capacities and stuff, but at the end of the day, there's really nothing that's going on here, and it's as slow as it looks. You're just watching meat go around in a circle. Occasionally, one of the arms will lose battery, and you'll have to like drop the Joy-Con down and let it dangle in order for it to recharge, but it doesn't really add that much depth, and it only happened to me like one time during all 3 different challenges. But for the most part, yeah, it's very simple, and then at the end, you're supposed to just let go of both of your hands and let them dangle. I don't know why, but sure. Coming in at number 9, we have Flight of Icarus. Now, this one is as low as it is simply because of the fact that, man, the Joy-Con don't work great here. There's a lot of the time they get out of sync and you go to fly and it just doesn't work. But overall, your goal is to flap your arms like a bird and either flap to the right or to the left and also lean your body in order to move this flying Icarus character. And your job is just to stay away from the other flying creatures and dodge any branches or trees that's in your path. It's not really difficult whatsoever, but the main problem is just a problem with the Joy-Con, you know, ultimately. Because if you're not ready and in the exact pose when the game starts, which sometimes it starts very quickly when you're not paying attention, there's no way to recalibrate the Joy-Con and get them ready for this minigame, so one of your wings might just be dead the entire time, and there's lots of times where the wing just stops working and you can only flap with one, which is just, it's just annoying. But yeah, essentially you're just flying down a river, and there's no like real boss or anything at the end, which I think is what it was missing. It's just a quick little flight through a river, and then you're done. Coming in at number 8, we have Octoblocker. Now this one is actually a fun little mini game to start the game as your first boss. You pretty much have 2 mallets. It's your job to hit the tentacles and not to hit the eels that pop up. And then it'll actually go through like 3 little mini game phases. The second phase will actually have you absolutely pounding on the giant Wario octopus before it actually sucks up the water or something. I really don't know what happens. In the third phase, he'll shoot these cannonballs at you and you just have to knock them back. And for a first boss battle, it's really not that bad. Number 7, we have Candlebear, which kind of suffers from the same problem as Flight of Icarus, where if you're not in the form before it starts, yeah, your arms are going to be broken and it's not really going to move and work the way you want. But this one, could have been higher, but the problem really with this one is just the fact that your arms get tired. You literally have to hold them straight up the entire time, and as you're playing, it does get tiresome, especially when you have to hold them in a specific pose as the ants are dropping water. But it's your job in order to melt the ice, in order to light the wick and shoot a cannonball at the ant in the background. If one of your candles gets extinguished, you have to light it with the other candle, but if both of them go out, you lose the minigame. It can get kind of hectic. But yeah, it isn't a bad minigame by any means, and it's mostly, once again, due to the Joy-Con that kind of messed this one up a lot, and I found it just kind of not responding as much as I wanted to unless I was holding my arms completely straight, which also got very tiring. Number 6, we have Super Mario 64 DS, which is hilarious, by the way, that it's just literally called the name of the game. But yeah, for some reason Nintendo uses the Nintendo DS version of Super Mario 64. I guess technically because maybe it has more slide portions, I think. Maybe? I don't know. Okay, look, I can't think about that right now. I'm just thinking about the fact that this game is actually pretty cool. You can just pretty much hold your arms out to the side and just kind of lean left and right as you slide down as Mario, and it works pretty well. There's really no problems with the Joy-Con, and it's fun to just kind of relive some of these stages. And yes, the extra additions are here too, like the secret tunnel from Cool Cool Mountains Ice Slide. It even has 2 giant Wii remotes waiting for you at the end for some reason. Why Wii remotes? I don't know. You even have like the harder path that you can turn right on the wooden boardwalk area, which I think you have to go down on this one, I guess. But at the end of the day, it's really cool. It's a really cool callback to this game, and it was just a fun little mini game. It's not that difficult whatsoever, and that's why it's probably not higher, because it's not that unique either, since it's already an existing thing. You're literally just playing the same exact missions you would in that game, but just with motion controls. But it's still fun to see return. Down to the final 5, we have Cut of the Prophet. Now, this one was actually pretty cool, and it didn't mess up that much at all because you could actually recalibrate it after each section you go through in the level, which is cool. You pretty much just hold your hands out and create a laser, and your job is to cut out the gold and then eventually cut out a path for the robot to actually get through in order to finish the stage. Now, thankfully, I didn't fail any of these stages, but I can definitely see it being very easy to do so. I don't know what happens if you actually touch the red lasers, if it actually ends the game or actually just adds more time, but some of these mazes and some of these patterns that you have to cut out could take you all the way down to the end of your time if you're being very careful. I personally had a lot of fun with this one, and it felt like I was really engaged into the game as if there was a real laser shooting out of my wrist. And thanks to the HD rumble, it was a really satisfying feeling as you're breaking each individual block and you can actually feel it in your hands. This was a fun boss battle. Number 4, we have Rocket Punch, and I feel like every WarioWare game has some type of shoot 'em up boss battle in the game somewhere, and this one definitely is no exception, where you're this flying robotic transformer toilet thing, and it's your job to shoot little robot butt cheeks. I'm not lying to you. They will fire some occasional golden poop missiles at you, which the Koroks would love in Breath of the Wild. But with that said, you actually have to fight a boss battle after you defeat these different colored butt cheeks, which of course is a giant robot head with 2 giant plungers. It's your job to actually fire and knock off all of the screws off of his arms and then eventually its head, and then you have to clog his nose with 2 of your fists as well in order to blow him up, because it's a Wario game, and if you didn't shoot something in a nose, it would not be a Wario game. Number 3, we have Poison Apple, which is kind of a callback to Snow White, as a witch comes on screen and gives the princess a poisonous apple, but it's your job to, no joke, digest the thing and poop it out. You have to twist and turn your body in order to get the poisonous apple down all the way through the bowels without it going into any of the acid or hitting any spikes, because I guess it would pop open and all the poison would corrupt her body. As goofy as it sounds, it's actually pretty interesting to play, and it's kind of fun where you have to control this apple by just moving your hips, and it reminds me of like a Wii Fit game, like you're on the balance board and trying to lean left and right in order to get this thing all the way down to the bottom. And some of the sections can be quite challenging, as you have to slowly roll it on moving platforms and stuff without dropping it into the acid or slamming it into spikes, and it really has to make you move with precise movements and not just shaking your hips like crazy. This is a perfect example of WarioWare weirdness at its finest, but it's a very fun mini game / boss battle to play as well. Plus, you get to hear a toilet flush once the apple falls out. Now, you might think there's no way it could get weirder than what we've already seen. Well, number 2, we have Muscle Road. This one seems pretty basic on paper, where you just have these cards, one in your right hand and one in your left hand. and depending on what you place down, that's how many spaces you will move on the path. And you pretty much just don't want to land on a red spot, so you want to put down a number that's not going to land you in those red spots. After you complete that section, it'll take you to part 2, where then you'll have 2 cards with 2 different poses, where you have to place the right pose down based on the figure in front of you, and you will get some absolutely bizarre poses, let me tell you. Sometimes they'll even place stuff in your way where you can't see what pose is going on, and they'll give you 2 very similar poses, and you have to place down the right one in order to win. And if you're playing this with a friend, you'll have 2 pairs of hands, making this even more difficult, having to look at your 2 cards and their 2 cards and decide which move would be the best, making it very stressful. I can't even lie and say that this isn't some of the most fun that I've had in the entire game, because it is. It is so chaotic and so crazy, yet a blast to play with people. I had so much fun playing through this one and failed so many times miserably, but still had a blast with my failure. And watching the strange poses that would pop up on the screen was just a delight that I can't really explain. How did Nintendo get away with having all these naked men? I don't know, but goodness gracious, like, what is this? Coming in at number 1 as the best boss battle in Wario Ware Move It is Super Wario Dance Company. This one pulling a page directly out of Wario Ware Smooth Moves from the Wii, because the final boss from that game was the same thing. This time you have 2 Joy-Con that you have to keep doing all the motions with and keep up, because if you fail, you will fail your whole dance company. And yep, it's your job just to pretty much do exactly what they're doing on screen and paying attention to everybody in front of you in order to match up with the pattern, which is so much fun to play, by the way, and just doing it in front of people, you are sure to get laughs all across the room, especially if you can get everyone to jump up and do the dance with you. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know how accurate it is, and if you even need to do some of the things, like for instance shaking your butt and things like that. I don't know if it can actually tell if you're slightly doing like small movements. You may not have to do any of that, but you are not playing the game right if you don't. You better be shaking your glutes every single time this game comes on, because that is the only way to play this mini game. No, I will not be showing you a video of me doing this. Safe to say that Wario Ware Move It does everything right when it comes to being just the weirdest game ever, and the boss battles definitely did not disappoint. They weren't perfect, and some of the earlier ones definitely could have been better, but at the end of the day, it definitely has the weird factor to make this yet again another fun WarioWare experience. But let me know in the comments down below, what's your favorite boss battle if you've played this game so far, and what's your least favorite one? Let me know down below, and thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe before you head out, and like always, I'll see you all on the next one. See you guys.